as much in as I can. But honestly, this would probably be overwhelming to do with kids in the classroom, all the stuff that I'm gonna add in. So I'm just gonna add a whole bunch of stuff in here, and then you can think about, oh, I think I might use it this way, or I might use it that way. So I am gonna do a lot of geometry with this, and you might not want to. But I'll ask you what the most specific geometric name for this shape is right here.
Square.
And it's a square because?
Or equal sides all at 90 degrees.
Okay, so the four sides are equal measurement, and there's also a word that describes that when we're just talking about the shape without any measurement attached. You know what that word is? Congruent, okay? So we can always start early on, and I start like in 3rd, 4th grade using that kind of language, remembering that the measurement is attached to equal, but the piece itself is congruent. When the measurement's not there, we're saying those are 4 congruent sides, and they have 4 congruent angles, 90-degree angles, and that makes a square a square. And you know, just for the heck of it, it might come up if we get to the patty paper. When we draw a diagonal in that square, it divides it into 2 congruent triangles, right? It just does. And that would also be true of rectangles. And guess what? A square is a rectangle, right? So that's I'm sure that you encounter that all the time, undoing that idea that they're 2 different things. Yes and no, sometimes they are. Squares can be rectangles, not all rectangles are squares, right? Okay, so we already divided that into 2 congruent parts. I'm gonna, if yours looks like mine, cut on that line, please. I've done this so many times I can catch up easy. Thank you. So it shows up on this paper worse than it does on regular paper. It does, yeah. Okay. So we already said those were 2 congruent triangles. I think that somebody in here can come up with an even more specific name for this triangle. They are right triangles. I bet someone can come up with an even more specific name.
Right isosceles triangles.
Isosceles. So as much as possible, we're going to name triangles by sides and angles. So it's a right isosceles triangle. And we have 2 congruent right isosceles triangles. Put one of those down. Take the other right isosceles triangle, and I'm going to ask you to put the 2 acute angles together and fold on that line. And what I sometimes say to be humorous, but you know how math humor is. Nobody gets it but you. You're the only one laughing in the room. So I could have said, fold on the perpendicular bisector of the hypotenuse of the right isosceles triangle, which is basically fold it in half, right? Okay, so if yours looks like mine, go ahead and cut on that line.
But already I would say, just if you were exposing kids to this vocabulary for the first time for these directions, that's already like 1,000 times better than just saying, here's the vocabulary words, we're kind of learn them.
Oh yeah, you just don't learn vocabulary that way.
Using them in context.
You learn it in context, and then if it can be a joke, you know, I was joking, I wouldn't have probably said the vertical, the perpendicular, blah, 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 but I would have used a lot of it, and if they start laughing and then if they fold it in half, there goes the anxiety, right? So it's a good thing. Okay, so I'm gonna suggest that you put this back into a square where we started. And I'm gonna say right now that for our purposes, we're gonna say that the length of one side of the square is 1 unit.
Dude, just doing that
Okay.
was a challenge. I was all,
Uh-oh.
I did the same thing Chris did when I was like, wait a minute.
So who's
I
gonna
was
put
like,
in
that's
charge
not
of
right.
him? Who's gonna be?
Wait a
I
minute.
was like, how's it go?
Wait a minute.
Name your
Stop.
helper
Originally I
here.
had it like that.
No.
It's not right.
Okay, so we'll talk. Oh,
There
my
we go.
goodness.
No, you're still.
Now I lost it. Now I lost it.
Together.
You smacking him upside the head next
No.
time.
I had it.
No.
and I
What
lost
did
it.
you do?
What did I do?
There we go.
Here we go.
If you put the,
Wait a second.
Wow.
Good.
actually, there's some vocabulary there.
Okay,
Put the
actually, I
top-
shouldn't have
There we
said
go.
that.
Put
That's
the
it.
right
See?
angle,
There you go.
put the right
There you
angle
go.
in the center.
Come on.
Don't let-
Yeah.
don't do
Perseverance.
that in my classroom.
It's
And hopefully that
important.
was not on tape, right?
That was fun.
Wow.
Did you get my face?
And we have it on.
No, I didn't. Just your
Oh
voice.
I always position myself as the person who knows what they
Okay.
do.
So we'll discuss this in a moment.